So I'm going to preface this video by saying that it's going to be a little bit more serious than a normal video of mine. And before you lovely people leave comments down below, no, I'm fine, I'm not depressed, doing swell, thanks for asking. With a channel of over 10,000 subscribers, I'm slowly building a platform where I might actually be able to make a difference for someone who might not be going through the best time right now. I just felt like talking about something which means a lot to me and I think might actually give someone some help and direction. Even if one person can take something positive away from this video, then that would be amazing. If you know someone who might be struggling with depression, maybe send this video their way. So, why am I talking about this topic today? Well, a few reasons. But mainly the fact, although I'm not depressed now, there was a time where I really struggled with depression, and I felt like I have grown as a person by going through an experience like that. Although I won't be going into detail of exactly what happened to me, I may tell that story another day once I feel comfortable doing so. Putting it simply, it's something I feel really strongly about, and I want to provide my perspective on what I think it is and what you should do if you or someone else you know is suffering from depression. We are going to be talking about some pretty heavy things in this video, so I'll make you a deal. If you can get through this entire video, I'll show you a montage of baby animals to cheer you up. I make that promise to you because I think we can all do with something like that at the end of a video like this. But before we jump into this, please bear in mind throughout this video, I'm not medically trained, and if you're having dark thoughts, please seek professional help. Okay, so what is depression? It's what I think a very misunderstood thing. You might be sad about something and proclaim that you're depressed, which of course isn't great. Nobody wants to be sad. But everyone will experience sadness in their lives from varying degrees to lengths of time. It's a part of the human condition. Grief is natural, and sometimes it can be healthy to go through a period of sadness to help overcome something in your life and grow as a person. Normally this might be sadness at a particular thing or person. Someone breaks up with you, you see some terrible news around the world, that bully at your school keeps stealing your pencil case, god damn it Bobby, get your own pencils! An identifiable root cause to why you are feeling the way you are. Sadness is not depression. Let me repeat that just in case you misheard me the first time. Sadness is not depression. Sad people do feel down for periods of time, but depression has a medical definition. When you're depressed, you feel persistently sad for weeks or months, rather than just a few days. It can well and truly consume your life. It's a real condition with real symptoms. A lot of people who have never had depression or don't fully understand it will just tell you to pull yourself together or just be happy. Yes, because we all have a switch that we can just turn on that makes us happy. That is some real science fiction baloney if I've ever heard it. And no, it's not a sign of weakness. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Even if people aren't that blunt with how they view depression, there is certainly a stigma surrounding the word. The good thing for you is that more than ever before, depression is a much more understood and manageable thing, provided that you have the support you need. With people becoming much more aware of what it is, and knowing people in their lives who have depression, there is more opportunity than ever to speak to somebody about it. I was very fortunate to be surrounded by good people who understood where I was and wanted me to feel better. I know a lot of people may not have the same people in their lives who can offer support like that, but there are always people who are available to talk and just want the best for your well-being. I will be leaving a list of contacts and services in the description below to some of the more prominent helplines and listening services, if you do need to talk to somebody about this. To better help understand how depression happens is to imagine running on a treadmill, the speed varying depending on how life's going, keeping a fast pace when life gets tough. For me in particular, I had many problems ongoing in my life, which all happened to come to a head at the wrong time. and basically tipped me over the edge. I came crashing down on that treadmill, flat on my face. The brain, it simply snaps. With bouts of sadness, you know what's making you sad. There is a root cause of the issue which you can look towards. From personal experience, depression arose when you can't quite put your finger on what's wrong. There were many things in my life which made me feel depressed, things which I knew were making me sad. But an accumulation of factors made one huge change to my perspective on things. When I was sad about something, I would target my frustration, unhappiness, and anger at that thing or person. The thing that changed, however, was that it started to become much more difficult to ascertain what the problem was. All of these issues at once essentially clouded my judgment, made it difficult for me to think straight, and I started to think in a very different and negative way. All that frustration, unhappiness, and anger was now directed at me. And at the time I didn't realise this, but thinking back, I realised that this self-blame, self-destructive behaviour just made me feel worthless. I was blaming myself for things which, largely, were outside of my control. If you've never had an experience of depression before, and are speaking to someone who has it, please don't try and compare it to just feeling down. Not only is it nothing alike, but you may make that person feel guilty for feeling that way. Again, sadness is not depression. It wasn't even something that was immediate, or a moment where I knew I was depressed. I would begin a long period of feeling drained all the time, running on clockwork, in and out of work, doing the bare minimum to keep my job, and when I got home, isolated myself and generally lost interest in many of my passions. I would just randomly get tearful and irritable at the slightest things, feeling guilt-ridden by the smallest decision, and overthinking everything to the point where I made things up in my head to make me feel better about the way I was thinking. This is extremely unhealthy not only to yourself, but to the relationships of those that care about you, especially if you don't tell anyone the way you're feeling. Blaming yourself for how life's going without knowing what to do to fix things. Again, I'm not going to go into too much detail of the specifics, but this was part of my experience. As you might have guessed, my self-esteem was pretty low at this point, and it's very tempting to shut yourself away and withdraw yourself from your social and family life. I'm going to tell you right now, that's a terrible idea. Yep, listen to your friendly neighbourhood tank bank. By shutting others out, you're fighting that fight alone. And by doing that, you're inevitably going to keep falling into the vicious cycle of depression. Honestly, I think I could have gotten better much sooner if I just spoke to someone about it. I really didn't want to trouble anyone with my problems. My negative mindset made me think that I was a burden on those I loved. I could not have been more wrong. Those people that I didn't want to let down were the ones who wanted the best for me. It's really strange how even when you have loving and supporting friends and family around you, you can feel so alone just by thinking so negatively. This is going to be different for everybody. Some people may need to seek professional help more than others. I felt for the longest time that speaking up about this was a sign of weakness. And if anything, I think someone with the guts to admit that they need help has a lot about them. I certainly shied away from saying anything for the longest time, even if it was a friend I could trust and felt comfortable about how you were feeling. You don't need to be a therapist to have a therapeutic conversation with someone. The absolute worst thing you can do is not say anything, because when you're trapped in your own head, that's a very scary place to be. Having open and frank conversations erode this stigma of mental health, and it opens up an opportunity for someone to seek help in an encouraging environment. If you suspect someone's not well or maybe even depressed, even just asking how they are might engage a conversation that they so desperately need. Most of the time you'll get the standard response of, "I'm fine." You should know by now that a reply like that probably doesn't mean they're fine. However, the second question is always the kicker. Are you sure? That second question can sometimes get the person to think about what they've just said and reflect on what they're truly feeling. They may even open up after that follow-up question. Of course, we aren't going to force anything out of them. If they don't want to talk to you, just make it clear that you're always free to talk to them at any time they need to. We aren't pushing anyone into anything. Give that person the time to seek the help that they so desire. These things take time to process. And that is exactly the takeaway I would leave this on. These thoughts may feel like they consume your life, but it's only temporary. Know that there are better times ahead. It may not feel like that right now, but there is. I can guarantee you. Wow, that's that was the heaviest script I've ever wrote. Look, I did try and put a few jokes throughout the video, but it just didn't really feel appropriate a lot of the time. So, as you've made it to this point in the video, I only feel like you've earned your reward. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you a montage of baby animals. Aww, I want them all! Anyway, as you can tell, this is new territory for me, so if you like this sort of video, where I speak my mind on something like this, let me know down in the comments what you'd like me to discuss in the future, and hey, if you have any tips on how to handle depression, leave them down in the comments as well. Guys, thank you very, very much for watching, and I'll see you all very, very soon. Fantastic.